Well, hello and welcome once again to the DCL podcast, where we're inviting you to sit back, relax, and we'll be on our way shortly.
Well, welcome back to the DCL podcast, your podcast to help you cruise a little smarter. And welcome to the show, Chris and Christy. How are you guys doing?
We're fine.
Good. Yeah, doing great.
Big news. Different this time with the release of the summer 2021 dates. We're going to talk about that here just real quick today. And a little bit different this time. I'm not sure. There's some speculation that it was going to come out last week. And usually when these releases come out, and Chrissy, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but usually they come out and you get about 3 or 4, maybe 5 days to kind of digest it a little bit before people have to start booking them. There was speculation it would come out last week, but it didn't. Maybe the coronavirus that was plaguing the ships over in Japan kind of slowed that down. Any thoughts from you guys as to why it was delayed?
I have a feeling it was more of an IT issue, personally. And because Disney was releasing several different things and different, like on the Walt Disney World side, they were releasing a new dining plan. And then I think maybe tweaking a schedule or two, but I don't really know that the coronavirus had to do with the delay. I bet it was more of an IT issue.
Yeah, I feel like it could have been an IT issue. It also could have just been like trying to figure out the right PR moment to do it. Though, I honestly think that sometimes these announcements sell themselves because of all the message boards and Facebook groups and things like that, that when these things get announced, everyone sort of frenzies around it without Disney having to do too much marketing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, from a marketing standpoint, this was a disaster, in my opinion. They released it like at 4 o'clock or something Eastern time, or 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock, something like that, on Monday for bookings to begin on Tuesday. That's rough.
Yeah, no, literally for a travel agent, I can't even imagine what it must be like to have all your platinums reaching out to you at like 10 p.m. at night being like, we just found out this was released and we need to book it by tomorrow to get day one pricing. So I bet you, I don't know. There had to be something weird.
Because it kind of hurt me in terms of, like, I kind of just wasn't even interested in looking. And then since I wasn't going to book in the beginning, we just sort of like, we won't do a Disney cruise in summer of 2021. We just I don't know. And I don't know if it was because we had just gotten back from vacation and we were, like, trying to deal with work, but also knowing that we had these impending snow days in our future, which we ended up having, which we're in the middle of right now, which is annoying, just in case anybody's wondering. Snow days, being a working parent is tough. Yeah, I don't know if that had something to do with it or what the deal, but we just were like, I don't feel like looking right this second. And since they gave us no notice, that was it. That's where we left it.
Well, irregardless, it came out on the 24th. Today's the 27th, February 27th, 2020, as we're recording this.
I think, Steve, it's either regardless or not at all.
Not at all.
I'm pretty sure.
Or
it's not grammatically correct.
Maybe Steve was trying to liven it up and channel millennials and quote the classic film Mean Girls.
Yeah.
Yes, that was me.
That sounds a lot like the Steve that I know, just giving us a little Mean Girls quote and saying irregardless.
Oh, yeah.
That needs to come out of the vocabulary.
All right. Regardless, and for everybody to know out there, I've never seen Mean Girls, so I do appreciate
Oh my gosh, Steve, don't admit that.
You're right. On my layovers, I secretly channel it every night on my layovers. But, all right, regardless, it came out February 24th, and a couple of people texted me, too, feeling a little stressed out about being able to book the next day. Platinum members booked on the 25th. Platinum and Gold were yesterday. Today, the 27th, is Platinum, Gold, and Silver. And tomorrow, on the 28th, is when everybody's going to be able to book. I thought we'd talk about the itineraries that they came out with. Summer is usually really one of the exciting ones because during the other 3 releases, although, holy cow, when The Wish comes out, that's going to be huge, isn't it?
Oh, my gosh.
It's going to be insane.
Yeah, but there I saw.
Yeah,
I'm going to take that out.
You can't take that out, Steve. They need to know your secret. You're a Mean Girls fan.
All right, regardless, summer's usually the one that's most anticipated. At least it is for our family, because that's when they start talking about Europe and some of the different destinations that the magic goes to. We don't have time to go through every single one of these itineraries, but I thought we'd kind of take a look at some of the things that they released and talk about some of our thoughts, and we'll just kind of go from there. So with 2021, the Disney Magic heads back over to Europe. They do their transatlantic sailing, as I'm pulling it up here, which is going to leave on May 9th. I think it's a little bit earlier this year. Kind of the same southern route that they're heading. But this year it's going to Gibraltar, and I think that's kind of a cool stop, something a little bit different. And then once she gets over there, they've added on Greece again. And any thoughts about Greece, guys?
So the Greece itineraries look awesome. I'm not going to lie. I was like, do I want to go to Greece? No, I'm going to wait another year or two. But there are 4 Greece sailings, which is awesome. There's also, we'll get to that in a minute, but expanded Norway sailing, so that's exciting. But the Greece sailings look awesome. There's a 2 8-nights, a 9-night, and an 11-night.
Yeah, and the 2 8-nights have unique itineraries. They're like slightly different from one another, which, kind of is fun. I like it when cruises have slightly different itineraries because it feels like you can mix it up and choose whatever fits best for you.
I agree.
Then an 11-night. Are you doing the 11-night this year, Steve?
No, we're doing the 9-night, which does not go to Croatia, which I would love to do that, but they're headed back to Croatia as well. But go ahead.
So the 11-night seems like maybe the best of both worlds because it's like, do you want to do a Greek Isle tour? Yes. Do you also want to do like the Med and go to Italy and France? Yes. Well, then go on this cruise and you'll do both. And that's 11 nights, everybody, with only 2 sea days. So
could you imagine how tired you'll be?
Imagine how tired and how much you will need a vacation from your vacation when you're doing 11 nights and only 2 of those are sea days.
But man, fantastic stops. Yeah, really awesome.
After doing that 7-day Mediterranean with only 1 sea day, you pretty much have to at least pick one of those ports to be kind of a sea day. Not so much that you don't have to go into the port, but maybe dial it back a little bit so you're not doing a full day. I don't know. With our kids, we needed to do that. So besides Greece, they are sailing this time mostly out of Barcelona for the Med cruises. They have a 7-night, or 2 6-nights and a 7-night out of Barcelona. And then they do a one-way from Barcelona over to Civitavecchia, Rome, which is where they start doing the Greece cruises. Then they turn their focus up towards Northern Europe, a lot of different options there. They come back with that 11-day that goes all the way up to Iceland, so they're running that one again, and then all different kinds of combinations to get you up into the Baltic and seeing everything that there is around the Baltic. In Norway, we had a question about Eidfjord. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right. Eidfjord in Norway, and whether that was the fjord that our family loved. Just for a little side note here, cruise ships are no longer going up to Geiranger. It's a World Heritage Site, and they've shut that down to cruise ships. I think there's some smaller ships that you could possibly book onto to get up there, but that's why they're no longer going to Geiranger, because nobody's going to Geiranger anymore as far as the cruise ships go. So, any thoughts about Northern Europe, guys?
What did your family love about that port? And is it like worth going on a cruise if it doesn't go to that port, or was that like your favorite thing?
It was just our favorite thing. Yes, it's still worth going on a cruise to Norway. I mean, one of the great things about Norway, the scenery is amazing. You're still stopping at 2 of the ports on the Norwegian cruise that we stopped at. The ship docks right downtown. It's really not the touristy, for the most part, sites that you get in some of the other ports where they've got t-shirt shops and hawking everything else. It's more like actually stepping off the ship and being right in downtown, some of these smaller towns in Norway. And then just the scenery along the coastline as you go along is a lot like Alaska. It's pretty magical. So yeah, I would not book it because it doesn't go to Geiranger. I think whoever's going on these cruises in 2020 or 2021 are going to have a great time.
Also, I should have looked this up, but they're doing an overnight in Reykjavik, and I'm wondering if that has anything to do with the Northern Lights, because I know lots of people go to Reykjavik to see the Northern Lights.
I think July is too early.
Too early? Okay. So it's just more like, ooh, a fun overnight, but not because you get to see the Northern Lights. Well,
they still have those baths there.
Right.
Whatever those baths are called.
Oh, and you know what? I bet one of the excursions they'll offer is letting people sleep in those like glass domed igloos.
Oh, yeah.
Ice whatevers. Yeah, I bet you still there's a reason they're doing that overnight, and it's probably because Reykjavik has a lot of like overnight things to do.
Yeah, there's still plenty to do.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's transition over to the Wonder. The Wonder's headed back over to the West Coast, and we'll be sailing up along the Pacific Coast. My wife and I are actually going on that as it transitions from San Diego up to Vancouver. And then the rest of the sailings are out of Vancouver for the summer up to Alaska. And Chris, you had a comment about that with the 9-night, I believe. Did you say something?
Yeah, so if you remember back to my Alaskan episode where we sailed on Norwegian Cruise Line, I said that my favorite highlight from the entire cruise was our stop at Hubbard Glacier. But Disney can't ever make it up to Hubbard Glacier because they do round trips out of Vancouver, and there's just not enough time to get up there and back. But on 9-night itineraries, they can. They cut out the 9-night itinerary from this year, so there is no 9-night option this year. But they're bringing it back for 2021. And it does indeed have a stop at Hubbard Glacier, which is scenic viewing. Obviously, you don't get off the ship. You just sort of like spend a couple hours watching Hubbard. But it's absolutely breathtaking and one of the coolest things I've ever done. So that 9-night, I'm sure it's a pretty penny, but if you have it in your budget, I highly recommend that because it would be amazing to see.
And then, as we kind of talked about, the majority of the sailings are the standard 7-night out of Vancouver up to Dawes Glacier, Skagway, Juneau, Ketchikan, 2 days at sea, then back to Vancouver. There's one 5-night sailing, which is going to be July 7th, which you can go up and see the glacier, stops at Ketchikan. Kind of a toss-up there between Ketchikan and Juneau as to what the best stop is, but if you want to go on a little bit shorter sailing, they offer that as well. And then the Dream and the Fantasy, for the most part, they're kind of doing the Fantasy going back and forth between the Eastern and Western Caribbean. They do offer a 6-night cruise on the Fantasy, which I'm not sure if that's typical, Christy, you would know. And then they also came back with a 9-night, which I believe, did they get rid of that this year?
I don't remember it, but I know they did have some longer Fantasy cruises. I thought the longest that they had this year was an 8-night, 11-night, right?
Yeah, I think so. To be honest, I cannot always remember what the Fantasy, like what their off cruises are. So if I have someone in particular that's looking at them. But what's interesting also about the Fantasy in 2021 is that they're doing some 3-night cruises. So, and a 5-night. And they're doing a couple of just random cruises as opposed to their 7-night alternate all the time.
Do you think those random cruises have anything to do with the Dream?
No, I think it's because because of the 9 nights and the 6 nights, because of the alternate cruises that they're coming up with, they want to keep them on the same schedule.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Because this year, the Fantasy is doing a couple of like 3 and 4 nights while the Dream is in
dry dock.
I don't know if it's dry dock or if they're just doing something else, but yeah. So I think like that wouldn't be a dry dock so soon next year. So I guess that makes sense.
Right. And the Dream doesn't have gaps except for one to do, I believe it's the Dream that's doing the Disney Vacation Club member cruise, which seems kind of appealing just because it'd be fun I want to do one of those member cruises so bad. Then the one other one-off is that, and also random in my opinion, is they're only doing one double stop at Castaway Cay, double dip. And that's on the Fantasy July 17th.
Yeah, I thought those were the most popular.
Right. In the summer, they've been doing 3 or 4 or 5 of them or whatever. They've been alternating between 4 nights and 5-night double dips. And so, yeah, I don't know. It's odd to me that there's only one. But
you love a good double dip, Christy.
I love me a double dip.
And that one I'm sure was going to book fast because there's only one of them in the summer of 2021. Anyways, so as the Dream goes, pretty much the same thing, 3 and 4 nights, all different kinds of variations of that, Castaway Cay, Nassau, and whether it's 3 or 4 nights with that day at sea, an extra day at sea on those 4 nights. So kind of a quick look.
There is one random, also, sorry, to go back to it, one random 3-night on the Fantasy. I'm just a little bit curious how they get away with this, but they are not stopping at Nassau. They are only going, and it's a 3-night on the Fantasy, which is also odd in and of itself, but they are only going to Castaway Cay and then having a day at sea.
Well, legally they can get away with it because Castaway Cay is technically the Bahamas, right? So they still need that maritime law.
Don't think that is really legally I don't actually know. I don't, or else I think they would do that more often.
I guess that's true. There's plenty of people who are like, though Disney also has entered some like subsidy agreements with the Bahamas saying we promise to increase tourism by stopping at Nassau. So like,
but they've always stopped at Nassau.
Yeah. Well, and aren't all 4 of their ships based out of Nassau?
Well, yeah, but I don't think that makes a difference.
So that's kind of a general overview of the 2021 releases by Disney Cruise Line. Once again, a reminder that Platinum, Gold, and Silver members today, February 27th, are eligible to book. And then tomorrow, February 28th, all guests can book. And the sooner you book, the cheaper the prices tend to be because they only go up, right, guys?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, so get online, book that cruise if you're interested in it. Contact your travel agent. You can always book with Christy. She does Disney Cruise Line along with just about everybody else, right, Christy?
Yep.
And how could they get a hold of you if they're looking to use you to book in the summer?
They can find me at Pack Your Pixie Dust on every social media handle. And then I have a website, packyourpixiedust.com. And they can actually call me at 586-580-1254.
Perfect. And if you guys have 2 extra beds and would like Chris and I to go with, we are always eligible and available to come with you on your cruise, especially if it's heading over to Greece, the Mediterranean, the Northern European for myself. And Chris, where can they find you cruising?
I'll be there spending the night in Reykjavik.
All right.
In your dreams, right?
Anyways, best of luck, everybody, for booking summer 2021 or wherever your next cruise takes you. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on the DCL podcast.